G'day, folks, and welcome to another episode of Countdown to Live. Great for having you here. Great, thanks for joining me. Sorry for a bit of delay there, guys. Bit of a hiccup there with my bloody headphones here, not wanting to connect and stuff like that. I'm going to deal with some kids quickly before we go and kicked into this. So, yeah, sorry for leaving you hanging for a bit there. But, yeah, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. Great having you here. Before we get started, if you haven't seen already on the Facebook pages there, we have got a new online store there. It's still a little bit pricey, unfortunately, but I can't get the prices down there for the designs that I want. But yeah, guys, it's a great opportunity for you to guys get some awesome products there, some great designs, and just supports the show that little bit there. I don't get a lot of money out of it and I'm not doing it for commercial reasons to try and get any money gains out of this sort of thing. But I'm like probably like not even $5. I don't even know what I get out of it, to be honest. So yeah, not a lot out of it there, but guys, I just hope you guys, if you want to rock the shirts, like stuff like these kind of shirts, by all means, just to go and help support the show, basically in a sense, and yeah, show it off. So anyway, look, we'll crack into this tonight. Also, don't forget if you do have a friend and family or you want to join the show, by all means, hit me up on Facebook there or email. You can hit me on Australian UFO sightings at outlook.com.au. Hit us up there if you want to go and join the show, and we'll get you on here and have a bit of a chin wag. And if you know someone who has had an experience and whatnots, by all means, yeah, send them my way. Love to have a chat with them. All right, but let's get crack into this. So I've got Bobbie here tonight. She's had a bit of experiences here and there, and well, I think she had a lot of experiences by sounds of it. For a quick little look into her, so I lost myself there. But yeah, she's got a lot of experiences there. Claims she can speak with beings as such, and look, we're going to let her talk about this. And she's some sort of messenger source, but I'm curious in where it's going to go. So, Bobbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. That's my pleasure for being here.
And, no, the pleasure's all mine.
Everybody.
No, it's wonderful having you here. Look, you got me really intrigued here. Like I've looked a little bit into. I didn't go too much into because I like to go blind into these things here, and instead of having a bit of evidence or a bit of a backup to go like, right, well, what can we go with this? I like to go in blind as a bat and go like, what are they going to present to me, and sort of go off the bat little thing. So to me, it's all natural. It all goes with the flow and whatever bounces off each other. So look, tell me about yourself. Where's things got you? Had some encounters there. You've had your family's been involved as well, and you've got some sort of communication with beings as such. Have I got that right?
Yes. Now, yeah. So I was actually born in New Zealand, and I came over to Australia in 1998. And I'd had encounters with the Kaikoura incident that happened over in New Zealand. I was living in Christchurch, a little town called Kaipoi, and around the same time as the Kaikoura incident happened, I had an orange ball of light outside my bedroom window. And then it just hovered there for ages, and then it just took off really fast. And I was petrified. I was only 11, and I ended up just staying like you just stay still. I didn't move one finger. I was so scared. And then my father walked into my room, and he sat on my bed and he held my hand. And then he left, and he just calmed me down, and he didn't say anything, but he left, which is not what my father's like at all. And I asked my father, and he had never come into my room, not before, not after, not ever, not especially at night. So it's just not something that they would do normally. And I realize now that was an actual experience, one of the first experiences that I had with the ETs. And I had in my head, yay, we found her. And I was thinking to myself, just being, little old me, well, who am I? That's pretty much what I was thinking. I didn't think very much more of it. But I ended up being able to see into different dimensions because my mum had exactly the same gift. So I had a lot of visitations throughout my whole life, as well as messages. Now, when I say see into different dimensions, it's like I could wake up and there would be things, beings, people, symbols, or whatever hovering above me, giving me messages, and had some really full-on encounters with a lot of really crazy coincidences. I'd had my partner at the time, when I'd ask a question, they'd speak through him. and give me the answer and all this very, very weird stuff. But my mum, who also had the same gift, she had shut it down because she just did not like it. But I actually had a conversation with her and my dad not recent, it was about a year ago, because my dad is extremely skeptical. And I was telling my father that this is an actual thing. Like sometimes they are physical, I can touch them and that sort of thing. And sometimes they were etheric and it disappeared, but they were not in my mind. It was something that would actually appear outside of my brain in reality. And behind him, my mum's going like this, and she's never ever really fully admitted in front of me that she actually sees things. I just heard through the grapevine through my sister. So I'm like, yeah, my mum had the same gift and my daughters have the same gift as well. And it's it's kind of taken me on a massive journey, an absolutely massive journey. If I, because this is down under, let's just start coming to Australia, right? I think that might be the best place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. By all means.
Yeah, right. So the very first night that I came to Australia, sometimes I get these really vivid dreams as well, that just feel like I'm taken into another reality or something like that. And the very first night I set foot in Australia that I was going to live, when I was going to live here, was April 14th, 1998. And I had this really profound dream that this UFO was coming to Earth. But amongst them was negative ones. And I was to gather everybody in this dream. And there was other people involved. And then we were going to get as many people together to harmonize and focus in on everything going wrong with the ones that weren't so good. So when we focused our attention in a unified manner, then it would create this reality where everything would fall away. Like if they went to use some sort of weaponry, it just broke. And then in the end, their ships just, started to break. So they had to leave, that sort of thing. So that was one thing that's really, I think, profound to mention here now, because as we progress, we're starting to learn that there is way more to our power as humans. And that's one of the biggest messages that they gave me, is that we are now to take back our authentic power. And that means that we're going to start to connect back to our soul and our right hemisphere, our intuition, our imagination, learn how to use it again. No longer just grasping things on the outside, copy and pasting our reality from somebody else that's told us what to do, even though they're coming from their own lack, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a pretty profound dream right off the bat as soon as I landed in Australia. And that's just one small thing that's happened.
That's very strange. Like what was behind the whole reason of these weaponry breaking? What's the meaning behind that, do you think?
Well, it's just, I think they were really showing me that when we became unified and we harmonized together, and it was kind of like we were singing it. I was getting the song together. So it was some sort of song that we were all to sing. And it was just this main focus on we are fine. We are okay. Everything that's going to come at us is just going to fall away. It's not going to affect us anymore. We are empowered from within us, and that unification, that intention meant that we were creating our own reality instead of looking outside of us for our reality to be created by somebody else. It's telling us or programming us what to expect, which is what humanity has been, that's the sort of journey we've been on for pretty much eons. And it's caught us in a loop of going back and forth, because the logical hemisphere, the logical brain, will grab one story and it can only grab from the past, project into the future. It can't create something new. The imagination, the intuition, the connection to our soul, that's meant to create something new. So all we're doing is ending up focusing in on all those horrible things that's happened to us and repeating the same scenario over and over again. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That's interesting. That's very intriguing.
Yeah, so that's just one story, but I don't even know, honestly, where to start with all of the stories that's happened to me.
But how did you feel after that, though? Like, having that sort of experience, though? Like, did it freak you out a little bit there? Or, like, is it something, like, you sort of were used
No,
to?
because, yeah, I've had way more experiences than that. Pretty profound, crazy experiences. If you want to go into one of the crazier ones that's happened, I actually just did a video on this called 444, where I've had 3 sets of 4 beings turn up and give me messages. And they always came in 4s, which was interesting. And one of the first ones that happened was here in Australia. It was the early 2000s. And I woke up and had my whole window imploded inwards. And it was like these etheric beings on white horses came smashing through my window. And it sounded like an explosion. It literally shook. To me, it shook the whole foundation of my room. And they galloped around, and I'd sat up. My partner beside me had jumped out of bed because I probably screamed, I don't know. But then I said something subliminally, and I couldn't remember what it was. And he said, I'd said, they're coming soon, not just yet. I've been waiting for this one. And I had in my head, a band full of angels is coming after me. And when I looked up that A Band Full of Angels, I thought, I think that's a song. And I found it was Sweet Chariot, Sweet Swing Home, Sweet Chariot or something. When I looked it up on the internet to put it on this video, this image came up of a painting that someone had painted of angels coming to somebody's house. So I'm like, what? This is just getting weirder and weirder as you go along. And yeah, so they were like etheric beings. That was one of the first things that started to awaken me even more into my power. So for the first 50 years of my life, I was only getting visions. And the last 6 years, I've been progressing into just channeling. So I've been channeling live for the last 3 years. And it's just now a channeling that I get through because I've had too many really amazing things happen. Some of them happened in New Zealand, though. I don't know whether to talk about the ones that happened in New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's no boundaries here. Like, everything's
Okay.
dedicated to down under. So I think we really claim New Zealand as Australia, don't we? But
Yeah, it's just kind of one thing, right?
Yeah, we just claim it.
All my brothers and sisters lived in Australia now, so
Yeah.
But yeah, in New Zealand, when they were trying to get me to learn how to control my mind, my mind was as negative as everyone else's, oh God, here goes another day, boring. Yeah, we're going for a drive. It's going to be freezing. I'm not going to be very happy. My partner's going to take off, take photographs. I'm going to be left alone, and all those horrible, stupid thoughts that you think. And this voice in my head, it was very subtle, just like my own kind of thinking, but it started to come in quite clear, like, why don't you just think positive? And then I'm like, why would I think positive? Start answering me. Why wouldn't you try? No one else can hear what's inside your mind, so why not give it a go? And I'm like, yeah, maybe, whatever. And then we ended up pulling up on a random beach on the way to Akaroa. And, New Zealand is just all beaches. So, like, we're just on this road straight along a whole huge beach. And it wasn't like a car park or anything like that. It was just pulled up on a sand dune. And because my partner wanted to take some photographs. And that same voice come in my head, open the car door and dig. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope, there's no one around. Okay, I think I can do this without looking like a fool. Because I was always concerned about my outside appearance and what people thought of me in those days. I think I was about 27, and I ended up digging up in the place that they told me, a solid gold bracelet worth like $1,000 with this tattered heart on it. And I'm like, okay, you got my attention. So they started to train me, and they started to come in and teach me how to use my mind in a much better way than what I was taught by school systems, and, you know, only looking outside myself for validation. So they took me on this big journey, which is why I'm starting to put the school together, or this classroom together now, to help people to learn to channel themselves, because I want to bring in all those messages they gave me to help others learn how to channel, because channeling or telepathy is the universal language, and it will expand humanity's consciousness into absolute vastness, and it will bring us so much more power, because we're no longer looking outside of ourselves for the answers. And that means that those that are in power, who think that they've got the monopoly on things, don't have the monopoly on it, because we'll always be showing another way to go around their rule-based reality. And so it's going to power up humanity in the end.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I just want to go back to your these beings that you had in the, like, coming through the roof and that, like, the four horsemen. Like, do you have, like, maybe like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, maybe, or something like that? It's like,
Yeah, I know. That's
for some
what.
reason I'm thinking that. That's, well, I automatically
Yeah,
thought horsemen of the apocalypse or something. Like, is that something that you're obviously
yeah,
relating to that?
yeah. I mean, and when they said, like, what I said, they're coming soon, not just yet. I've been waiting for this one. It wasn't. The story gets even weirder. Of course, it does with me. So, like, it wasn't until 10 years later, and I know their time and our time is different. You know, it's coming soon. Yeah, 10 years later, great. What felt like, I think it was. It might have not been quite 10. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've got it all written down, because they told me to write it down. Like, I literally woke up and saw a pen floating above my head, and I'm like,
Jesus.
what is that? This is what happens with me. Like, I wake up and see these messages. What does that even mean? Like, oh, it looks like my pen. Oh, maybe they're asking me to write things down. Oh gosh, it took me 3 days to figure that one out. They must be up there going, what the heck? Like, it's right in front of you. Anyway, that aside, so I've had many other encounters in between, but it was quite a few years later, in 2013 October, when I went on this trip and ended up seeing 444 everywhere. Like, this one trip to drop my girls off to see their dad, because by the stage we'd split up. And 444 on, you know, number plates and billboards, and I'm like, one trip. It was just crazy. I'm like, something's gonna happen here. You can just kind of feel this. I feel this buildup of energy when coincidence happen too quick, too much. And then that night, I woke up at about 2 a.m. and I looked out my bedroom window. Was an orange UFO right outside my bedroom window. So it was like a light, and it had like a light around it, like that shaped this orange light into a UFO. It would only, because it was in front of the trees, it was only about, you know, a foot or so. It wasn't really huge. It was like a light that was just shaped like a UFO. And I just thought to myself, oh, another vision that somebody, you know, other people can't see, but I can see. So I kind of just went, oh yeah. Then the next morning on my Facebook, in my own hometown in Mullaney, somebody else said, did anyone else see the orange UFO last night? And I'm like, okay, this isn't a vision. This is for real. The following day, this gets crazy, by the way, but this is the truth. So the following day, I woke up and I saw on my phone, they've arrived. And I had sent that message to a friend, but you know how you send a message and it usually doesn't, when you open up your phone, it doesn't come up with the last message that you've sent, but it did. And I read they've arrived, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting that that message came up. That night, I woke up to 4 massive beings in my bedroom, and I'm lucky that we had like a 12 8-foot ceiling, because these things were, I actually wrote 8 foot tall, but if I really think about it, they were probably near 9 or even 10 foot tall, because they went beyond the door another foot, and they were caped, and they had like this curly black hair that kind of went down. I didn't see their faces. And I had a light that was beside me. Now, when I see things into these other dimensions, I'm in an alpha or theta state of mind. So I know when I flick on a light, I can like go back into beta state like everybody else. And then it's like they just usually disappear. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to turn on the light. But they sometimes they can get in your head and block certain things. And I literally had no idea in that moment that I had a light right beside my bed on my dresser table. So I knew I had to go through them to the other side of the wall where the big light was, the light switch next to my door was. And it was almost like they were testing me to see if I was going to be afraid of them or not. So I got up and I went through their capes and went, excuse me, as I'm, pushing through these massive beings' capes, and turn on the light. I go, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God for that. Okay. But then they started to come in my dreams, and then they started to give me messages. And sometimes I would wake up paralyzed. And I asked them, why am I waking up? That feeling where you just can't move. I hate that feeling. I'm claustrophobic, and it doesn't sit well with me at all. But I don't think many people do like that feeling. I asked them why. Why would you make me feel this way? And they gave me this dream where they come up to my friend and me in this dream, and they just said hello. And when they just said hello, it was like this booming hello, like this really big vibrational, loud, like crazy megaphone hello. And it just literally shook you. And then they said, we put you under when we take you to our ships, because we don't want you to be afraid of us. So, and because I can remember quite a lot, like I I've been taught how to, I know myself even in my dreams. If a negative entity comes to me in my dreams, I will catch them. This is in the past. No negative beings come to me in my dreams for absolutely ages now, because they're scared of me. So so they had arrived, and it was really bizarre, because then they actually led me to this image that was on the Egyptian temple of what I feel is the Anunnaki. And they looked similar to that, because they had the wavy hair and they had capes and they were big. And anyway, then there was all these others. There's a whole heap of coincidences that happened after that, but that's on my other video that I only just produced, so it's pretty fresh in my head, because but then the other 4 beings that came to me were who I call the Cyanians now. So the Cyanians are beings that reside very close to oneness. They're like the gatekeepers. They're like the observers of many different levels of awareness. And that's who I end up channeling through now. So when I was in Australia, I wanted to meet, because I was getting so many visions, so many. Like sometimes they wake me up 2 or 3 times a night. And some of them were premonition dreams of things that were going to happen, and all sorts of things that were pretty out there. Phone calls from the dead, you name it, I had it.
Oh,
anyway, pardon?
Oh, geez. Okay, that's just what you want.
It is pretty crazy life. My life is pretty out there. I've lived on the edge of this reality and another reality my whole life. Anyway, going back to, I ended up asking for help. And I would just sat outside and said, I want to meet someone of high integrity. And in my head, they're like saying, you don't have to. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to change the rules. You know, I do have the capacity to change my reality if I want. It's my reality, right? And so I ended up meeting through crazy synchronicity again, this Cherokee elder that was coming to Byron Bay from Ohio in America. And she came up to me and told me that my youngest daughter was going to be a great leader. And then we had the talk, because my youngest daughter was only 6 months old at that time. We had the talk. Amazing lady, amazing information, amazing what she knows. She was taken away from her tribe and everyone and brought up by her elder for about 9 years of her first 9 years of her life, so that she could learn all about these different magical things that humans can do, the potential of humanity. So yeah, she ended up pulling me out of the crowd after she had finished the talk, and did this neuron changey thing in my brain to bring me back into peace, because I had 2 kids and I'd lost it a bit. And then she caught my attention by doing that. So I went and saw her the following year. She pulls me out of another crowd of about, I don't know, 80 people, and told me she'd be working with me. So she was sent by her elders to go find what she calls the buffalo hearts, the white buffalo hearts, which are beings that come, or souls that come straight from Pleiades. So I ended up having a lot of really amazing things that happened with her, even to the point where we were together in a theater. She was going to do a talk on a remote viewing movie we were seeing, and she asked me to sit next to her. She took my hand and she talked to me telepathically, full on, like I'm saying my life story, and she's squeezing my hand. And I was thinking with my logical brain, this can't be. So I wanted confirmation. So I'm like, asked me to follow you to USA, something I know she wouldn't normally do. And after the talk and everything, she came up to me and said, Tony, we want Bobbie to follow us back to USA. And he looked really like, what? And my jaw just dropped. And she whispered in my ear, it's magical, isn't it? So that's inspired me to use my gift to now focus on what is humanity's potential, because obviously we weren't there. If we could be telepathic and we weren't using that ability, we weren't there, right? So I started to focus all my attention in on that. And I was gifted this beautiful dream where I woke up in an earth potential. And the first thing I noticed was that my mind was completely still, completely present. And it was so euphoric, just beautiful. But because of that clarity, when you thought of something, it just kind of happened. So we had the ability to teleport. And I had friends teleporting to my house, and the ability to be telepathic, and we could manifest stuff. And it was just like really far out potential of where humanity could go. So I've been told that now is like this change that we're in the middle of, where we are literally being asked to go home, lockdown, so that we can do the inner work. Now instead of looking for someone else to give us all this information, we have to do the inner work, where we're clearing all of that programming that was pulled over us to look outside of us only for our power, go within us, and then find our power within us, so that we could actually move into creating our reality, or whatever we want to create next as a unified field of humanity's consciousness. Yeah.
I really want to meet this woman just so I can get my brain rewired after dealing with kids. Like, I'm sure everyone else must feel the same too. Like, all I got out of that was like, she can rewire us so we can deal with our kids a bit better. Like, I want to meet this woman.
I know, right? Yeah. It lasted about 2 weeks. And I think she did that because she had to get my attention so that I would come back the following year. Then she said, okay, I'm working with you. I've been told I'm working with you. But yeah, it's like she just put her hands. I didn't even know what a neuron path was then. She just put her hands over my head like this. And then she said, she could feel everybody else's thoughts. Okay, everyone else wants to have a crack at this. Yeah, or if you want to, come on up and I will do you as well, kind of thing. But yeah, like she was amazing. I had this whole thought that I could help her with what she was doing to help awaken humans and stuff like that. And I remember sitting in the car. She was awakening certain souls to their power and stuff like that, buffalo hearts and that. Anyway, I sat in the car next to her, didn't say one thing whatsoever to her. She just turned to me and said, yeah, you won't be able to help me because this is my journey and you've got your own journey. And I'm just like, didn't say a darn thing, you know. It's just, it blows your mind. It literally does blow your mind. Like,
wow.
Yeah, and you feel, because when she was telepathically talking to me and holding my hand, there's such a unity between us that you feel this so much love between us. But then when I went home, honestly, my brain's going, I don't love her, because my logical brain can only fixate on what love is in a sense of what we've been told that love means, you know, you want to marry them or whatever, you know. Yeah. I'm sitting there going, I'm having this confusing kind of, and because if things happened with her that she did some really amazing things in front of people, if it would blow their mind, she would have to go make sure that they're okay, because it can literally blow your mind. And I'm lucky I've just had a lot of really crazy things happen to me that I could handle quite a bit.
So it's sort of like the building path really to get to where you are today, all this stuff that's happened in the past there. So which sort of brings you on back to these beings that you had in your room. That, like, the fact that you like walked past them or through them, like were they solid, or what did they feel like walking past them?
Yeah, I can only feel their capes. That, you know, it was like,
okay.
I was trying to
didn't
find
feel any structure or any body behind them, but
yeah, that's why I'm like, excuse me. I was trying to be, you know, polite.
The fact that you got up though to go and turn the light on, like, no one would do that. Everyone would be like cowering in a corner in the fetal position, going, "Yeah, just go away."
Yeah, no, I've had some before that. I had an initiation with, honestly, the reptilians, the draconians. And this is what often happens with spiritual people, is that they have to face the greatest fears before they step into being able to communicate with some of these powerful beings, right? Because you have to be an equal par to them, because we are source energy, all going on a journey in this body. And at that point of reference, we are all equal. There is no difference. There's nothing to be afraid of, because anyone that's trying to pull the wool over your eye, your source energy as well, just like they are. So you should always find a way. There's always a way to get out. And that's what that trip taught me. So I was in Australia with that one. I was at a friend's place, and I was downstairs in her house. She had a lot of these encounters with some, you know, dragons and draconians and stuff. It was some weird things that were happening. Some was drawing dragons a lot and all that sort of stuff. But I didn't really think too much about it. And when I slept the night there, I saw this being slide out of one of her ornaments, and it just kind of shuffled its way out, and it smelled terrible. It looked like this massive, I don't know what you would call it, but it had like a duffel coat on it. It was like trying to disguise itself. I closed my eyes or blink, you know, and boom, it's closer. And I'm going, stay there. Don't come any closer. And boom, you know, you close your eyes and blink, it's closer, like a freaking horror movie. And it ended up on my bed, and I could feel it. It was as real to me as anything, right? So it put its arm around my neck, and it tried to put pills in me, like these 2 pills. And I remember thinking, nah, this is not going to happen. And as soon as you decide this is my reality, nah, this isn't going to happen, and you let go of the logical mind trying to fix it all, because the logical mind can't, it doesn't know how to fix it all, then you've put yourself in a position of source energy coming in and gifting you this, the saving grace kind of thing. So what happened then, when I just went, nah, I don't know how I'm getting out of this, but I'm going to get out of it. It's like all my chakras went into one big ball of light between my heart and my sacral chakra. I didn't see that happen, but that's what it felt like. This white light just exploded out of my chest, and it kind of levitated me, and well, not levitated, but I didn't levitate or anything, but it made my energy go into a higher frequency where they weren't existing anymore. So then they couldn't do anything with me, because I had shifted my reality out of their reality by this light that it had exploded out of me. And then I ran outside, put my hands in the dirt, and okay, I've got to go back in the bedroom and go to sleep now, because, you know, that's what you do. So I did. And all's well the next day, kind of thing. But yeah.
Any ideas on what it was trying to, like, what was the pills trying to achieve? Like, any ideas and beyond that sort of nature?
Yeah, I think it was more to do with I'm going to, it's kind of like a symbol of shifting me into fear. Like, hello, you've swallowed what I want you to swallow, so now you should be in fear. You're under my command. That sort of feeling, as if it was trying to get me under its command. But I knew, I don't know, my soul knows my power. And if I let my logical mind go, it's like my soul just does its thing and knows how to get out of these sort of things. So from then on, I wasn't afraid anymore. Like, it was like an initiation of realizing how I could face one of the worst things, so that then things like, you know, the Cyanians when they come through, and the Palladians when they came through, the Anunnaki when they came through, the Lyrans when they came through, I wasn't afraid anymore, because they were, yeah, I knew that my soul could get myself out of anything if I could get myself out of that, right?
I've heard of stories there where I don't know if you want to call it like a demonic being or something of that sort of nature. Like, you know, where they'll call upon, like, the, you know, Jesus and gods and all sorts of stuff, like, to go and protect them, and that, and it sort of works as well. Is that sort of a similar sort of thing that what you would have achieved there, or is it something different, do you feel?
Well, I think I trust my own soul over everything. I remember the Cherokee elder saying, if Jesus was here, would you feel equal? And I straight away, yeah, of course I would. That's how I see it's not like I see myself as Jesus, honestly. I'm me, right? You know, I'm just honestly, I'm just plain me. but but my soul has this knowing of who it is, and that at the source of all things, everybody is that. Everyone is that. Because our soul is source energy going on a journey. It enters into a body, into an avatar, and it has the experience that it's going to have, whether it be an animal, plant life, whatever it is. It's like source energy split into trillions of different beings and adventures and all that sort of thing. So I'm just part of everything else, but I just have a greater awareness of it, because my soul comes straight from these Cyanian beings. So I haven't had the karmic push-pull that most humans have had going through their journey of being caught in a maze of this limited consciousness, where they've been living in a very unbalanced state of awareness, and I haven't had that. So I've come straight through as who I am, straight through from Pleiades, straight through from the Cyanians. And that's why that Cherokee elder went, you're part of this, and found me, because we're here at this point in time to help awaken other people to realize that they too are just as amazing and magnificent as what I remember of my soul. You know, we're all that. There's no doesn't matter if you're a garbage collector or if you're a lawyer. It doesn't matter. And from a soul's point of view, we're just going on this journey, and until you start to remember that within yourself and connect back to that, then you are going to be able to create your own path, and you're no longer fixated on somebody of a leadership role telling you how they want you to create their path, honestly. And all of that was meant to happen to humanity because back in the Atlantis Lemuria age, we went through a massive fall, and when that happened, we wanted to learn more. Humanity's consciousness wanted to learn more about the logical side, the outside world, the material world, the separated world, and so to go on that journey, they had to let go or block out their soul's path or their right hemisphere, their a feminine intuitive side, so that they could go on that journey. And so that took, quite a long time for us to go on that journey. But now we've come to the end of that journey. It's all about reinitiating our soul back, but into balance, into a balanced mind. And once we have these two hemispheres running in balance, see, even scientists have put fixed mechanisms in that on people's brains, and found that majority of people are using their left brain more than what they are their right brain. The only ones, and the ones that are using their right brain, are savant autistics. And what can they do? They're amazing, right? They can tap into their soul, and their soul's lineage has all this memory of what they know. So they know they just know how to draw amazing, or do piano, do whatever musical instrument they're really good at, the mathematical geniuses and stuff like that, but they're not grounded. So they're the opposite side of what most humans are. And this is all about bringing a balance back together again, so that we can go on this beautiful journey of creating what we want to create in this physical world, and bringing more love from the soul's perspective through loving who we are in our journey of our own journey from within, and that means outwards as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, look, that's a lot to take in, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
When it comes to we call them people with disabilities, in a sense, like you're saying, like people are able to use their bit more majority of their brain compared to most of us there, and the ones that can do that, like they blitz through everything. And it's like, well, how can you do that? I'm someone who could is society would take as a normal person, but here you are doing well and truly things that I can't even achieve myself, in that sort of sense. Like, it's like, how can that be? Like, why does it seem to be such a massive gap between, what we perceive as a normal person to someone who has this amazing abilities as such? Like, to me, that's frustrating. Like,
and more people are starting to awaken that, especially the younger generation, because they are literally born to do that work, like to love their life, love themselves enough to love each step, living in the moment. Like, it's more to do with bringing ourselves into the moment. If we live from the moment, we're no longer fixated on the issues and stuff. We can change the story that we want to create something different, right? Yeah.
I think we're going to be very hard to achieve that, because everyone's too busy looking at their phones, too busy worrying about work and stuff like. It's the society itself is broken because of all this technology and just their focus. Like, you look at the governments there, they just seem to keep trying to force us down lower and lower. As soon as we start trying to get up and we're financially might be getting a bit, oh, cool, I can start saving a bit more money now. But as soon as people start going, spending money or being able to go and live life how they're supposed to, the government's going to just knock us back down again. So that it destroys our focus on what you're saying here, where we can go into our inner selves and enjoy ourselves, our soul, and families and such.
Yeah, but they don't have any power over when you start to realize when you really are living in the moment, because you always find for your soul another way around that. You might have to step out of the normal of what you've used to. You might have to go through some changes, And that's the problem, is that most people would have to break free from thinking that's the only way reality goes, because otherwise they have a hold on you. Instead, there's off the grid situations, there's people that are awakening, and more groups than what you actually expect, because if you're only tapping into what the TVs say and the news says and all that sort of stuff, what the governments say, then that's the reality that you're only fixated on. That's what you're trying to push against. And if you push against something, it pushes back. But if you turn around and go, no, you know what, I'm not going to give you any sort of attention, no energy whatsoever. I'm going to start focusing on what I really want to create with my own life from this point on. You start to shift your attention, and then your focus, your actions start to follow that. And so you're then moving away from their reality that they've been keeping you closed into by using fear, propaganda, victimization. A perpetrator can only exist if there's a victim to be a perpetrator too. A victim can only exist if there's a perpetrator, right? You can't have one without the other. So they're the perpetrator, we're the victims. And until we turn around and go, nah, we're going to go create our own life. I know my power within myself, like I did when I had that really horrible being coming over me. I know where I'm going to go now. I'm going to direct my life towards that. I'm not listening to you anymore. And slowly but surely you'll start seeing things happening where you start to synchronize with other people that have awoken as well. Start to see that there's more people out there awoken than what you actually believed before, and that they're actually there to help. And each of us will start to help each other. And then we will branch away from all of that. And they can't have a bar of you, because you start to ignite more gifts within you. If we were all telepathic, there's no outside device, right, that they can control you with. If we had all these gifts that I know is our potential, and I know that sounds far-fetched, but it's amazing how many of us are actually starting to awaken to certain gifts that you'd be really surprised behind closed doors. See.
Yeah, look, I've heard lots of stories there where people have amazing gifts, and I know there was tests in the past there where governments have tried to abuse this sort of ability that people have and such like. And it's something that's gone along the history of time. Shamans and some sort of spirit leader in tribes and such. They always had some sort of connection with some abilities of uh, beings or something like. There's always been across history where someone's in that nature's got those abilities. But then somewhere along the lines, they always come across as the crazy people, as such, and it's shunned upon in society itself. And so, how do you sort of approach that sort of
well,
stigma that's attached to it all?
I don't look for other people's approval of who I am anymore. If I look for other people's approval for who I am, then I'm victim to whatever their thoughts are, and most of them are coming from a very unbalanced lack of mind with no responsibility for what they're thinking. So why would I listen to someone like that? So if someone turned around and said you're crazy, to me it's just like, oh, okay, well, do you want to go find somebody else that you don't think's crazy? I don't really, it's water off a duck's back now, because I support me. I'm learning, and I am learning. I'm not saying that I'm not 100% there, because there are moments where you still go into that vulnerable place within yourself, and you're learning to do the shadow work and peel that layer off that you are. But I'm learning a lot more now that it's more to do with how I feel about me, not how anyone else feels about me. So then I can stand up and do this. I can be the channeler. I can bring the messages through, as crazy as they are. And it doesn't affect me now. And so I end up having a lot of followers instead. I've got like over 2,000 on my YouTube. It's getting there anyway.
No, that's good. That's great. But the thing I'm trying to get at is whilst you're trying to reach out to everyone, they're trying to go and reach into the inner soul and bring out their inner abilities and such like that. But how are you going to approach that when someone is very skeptical on the whole thing there, and they want to ignore you and just keep casting you away, going, you are a nutter, basically. You're a crazy person who shouldn't be out in the normal society. How can you sort of break that away from humanity itself? Because majority of society is very against this whole
Mm.
topic in nature. Like
Yeah. I
they'll
don't know.
watch movies in Hollywood and such like that, but like and they might have the idea, go, oh, that's kind of cool. But when it comes in reality, they're gonna go,
Mm.
no, that's a lot of bullshit. It's just some nutter who thinks they can do this stuff.
It's interesting because I haven't really had too many people even attempt to say nasty things to me for quite a while now. And I think it's because that's my reality. That's what I am expecting. I literally had a negative comment on the 444 video. And when I went to just, tap into it to see what I was going to do with that negative comment, it didn't even come up. Like,
Hmm.
like
Oh,
it's almost like my team come in and went, nah, that comment, nah. I
yeah.
don't know. Like it just didn't even show up on my YouTube. Like he either took it down himself and felt terrible about it, or
Hmm.
it's almost like my power now of knowing who I am is enough. It's just enough, and I'm not really concerned if somebody's going to come at me like that. Then I don't know. I just haven't had it. I haven't had it for a long time. I used to, and I used to do the whole fighting thing, and do the resistance and try to speak up for myself and prove myself. And now I'm like, well, who am I proving to? Someone that's never going to listen to me anyway. So why
Yeah.
even bother? When you're ready, if the seed's planted, you come back and you might get something out of my information, but otherwise there'll be other people out there that you could go find that you more click with. So if
Hmm.
you're just coming at somebody to be mean, then why would I want to entangle in that energy? I just don't want to do it, so I don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Because obviously, like we were saying before, this whole topic, whether it be like aliens, UFOs, ghosts, paranormal, cryptid sort of thing, it is like a good handful of people that see things or experience things, but the rest of society doesn't see it at all, or
Mm.
doesn't want anything to do with it. So the biggest thing is like obviously we want to talk about this more on that, but it's like we need to try and like achieve a better way to go and prove to everyone that these things are real and exist. Now, I know the American governments, they're like saying like, "Yep, look, no, we know UFOs exist. We don't know what they are." They're not claiming that they are alien, but they're just saying they're an unknown sort of objects flying around. A lot of them are. I think what they're seeing is, you know, misconceptions of camera artifacts, or effects from the cameras that they can't make out properly, but they're calling me UFO in that regard. But there are pilots and people who are saying that they are seeing these crafts and objects that are
Yes.
doing amazing things that are defying our laws of nature capabilities. So it's like, well, okay, so we've got two side of things. We've got the physical realm of these objects and such. Then we've got your side of things where it comes down to the spiritual thing. How can we combine both of these worlds together to sort of prove to everyone that, like, look, there's something out there that's more to what we're seeing every day. So how can we get in touch with this to prove an actual reality, a physical reality to everyone, to
Mm.
go and get them more in touch and go, oh, look, okay, take it actually seriously.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite a journey, though. That's going to take a bit of time for humanity to actually start to turn into, well, what I've been following over there, and the poo-pooing of all of that is actually taking me down a path of being controlled, and I don't like that. So their feeling about who they are is just going to feel smaller and smaller, and then they're going to start to branch out to looking for people like us who actually have something that of value that might actually expand their mind right into something else. And in the meantime, people that are awakening like us will start to support each other, so that we've actually got a supportive team, a soul tribe that comes together, or so to speak, that we actually are bouncing off each other, so that if somebody does come at us, well, we're already teamed up to go, someone's backing us on our YouTubes or whatever. No. I've had that before with my team. Like someone will poo-poo me and someone will go, no, you don't do that to her, because, so they're backing me because I'm backing myself. And so my reality is I'm backing myself. I'm a creator of my own reality. I'm starting to really get into that, like understand that. So I know what you're saying, that you want to have, like, maybe if we have like a physical something, we team up with these Lyrians or the Palladians, and we say, can you give us absolute 100% proof? But they know that it's a journey of humanity's consciousness going through this, and if they break open this too quickly, then we're going to not wake up as many people as what we thought. Sometimes it is the pressure that actually wakes us up and turns us into a diamond, or like a butterfly that's escaping out of the cocoon. If you go help it out of the cocoon, it's just weak and it dies. So this is a process that has to happen, and we have to acknowledge and respect that process. And so they do that. So they will come in and they're going to talk to people first, telepathically channeling like they have with me, before they actually confront us face to face in a real, like, full one-on-one sort of place, because we have to get used to their frequency, and their frequencies at a different kind of space where they're coming from their hearts, and that they're not in that fear-based scenario. So we have to learn through our frequencies to level up to their frequency. They don't want to be leveling down to ours, because then they lose themselves. So they're waiting for us to level up to them, so that we've got clear minds and we know how to control our thoughts. We know how to direct our actions onto what we really want to desire, have come into our reality, whether it be a being that's landing on from a spacecraft in front of us. And then through the telepathy or the channeling, we will start to get used to their vibration and used to how they feel. And then when we're used to how they feel, which is what we're going into, our soul's base is all about our feelings, then they can come and like land in our front yard and that sort of thing. But it's only going to be seen by those that are already in that frequency of meeting them as well. So this is a process, and we can't just skip a step. There's steps that have to be taken through this. Like, they're literally telling me this at the moment while I'm talking to you, that there are steps that have to be taken. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough too. So then my argument here is too, then, like, well, why didn't they do this earlier on in our human societies back in the day, like when we were all coming in through like stone ages or something, going through the bronze ages, like where we weren't in a big city life now, we're not big in society like we are today, sort of involvement of humanity. Like, why not do all this sort of stuff earlier on, teach people, or wherever we were back those days.
We actually did have many encounters. Humanity has gone through many civilizations that have been destroyed and then reawoken and then destroyed and then reawoken. There's quite a few more than what you've been told. So in some of those, there has been beings and that's why you will find these ancient artifacts and stuff, or these hieroglyphs with UFOs in them on the side of the wall, because they actually did visit and interacted with humanity and taught them their ways. And then there was a period, though, that we lost that capability to be telepathic, be able to channel with them, which is a universal language. And that means they had to leave us to our own device to figure ourselves out about our outside world. But now is the time that they're coming back. And that's why people like me are being born now, and lots of others, not just me, right? Even within yourself, and you've got this passion and desire to actually do this podcast, right? Because there's something deep down in you that's forcing you to complete some sort of mission. And so you'll keep doing this because it's a passion. It's not even coming from, I have to get money for it or anything like that. It's just something that you're driven to do because your soul knows it's come here to do that specific thing.
Yeah, I've been told that before, and it's like, it's weird that you say that. It's like, oh, now we're getting weird. But anyway.
Yeah, but your logical mind doesn't want to hear that sort of stuff, because it's like, that's too far out for me to handle. This is why you end up having people coming at you, right? Because you're still in your logical head quite a bit, where you haven't empowered. It's still coming. Like, that's a seed that's going to be awoken in its rightful time for you. But,
Look, which I'm not afraid of, because I'm open to both worlds. I like to try to keep things grounded and sort of, grounded, I suppose. Yeah, grounded. Because like I want to do analytics of like images and footage and stuff like that, and I've got to keep things very critical in that sort of nature because, like, some people will believe anything is a UFO or an alien ship out there. And it's like,
Yeah.
let's not go jumping to conclusions here and try and keep things a bit more grounded and go, instead of assuming it's a UFO or alien UFO, let's just
Yeah.
assume that, like, or even give evidence to say, like, it's a misidentified object or something in that nature. Because when people start going jumping out trying to claim things straight away, it's like it ruins all the credibility of everything
Yes.
that could be very well a real image or footage or anything that's reality. It's something that is real and
Yeah.
can be sort of perceived as an actual experience or an encounter or something like. So when people go and jump into conclusions and that sort of things, yeah, like I said, like it ruins credibility and just makes
Yeah.
us all look crazy and stupid in that sort of regard, and that frustrates me. But again, look, I'm still very open to the idea that there is something that is more to this and that, and that's what, like,
Mhm.
I want to achieve all that sort of stuff. And it's I know it's a weird way to go about it, I guess, but it's just one of those things. I want people to be able to look at this and go, yeah, look, there is reality behind all these people's experiences, their encounters, and stuff like that. And if I can help them in that sort of regard and achieving that, then yeah,
Yay.
by all means. I want a
Yay.
weird way about that, but anyway.
Well, I'm really happy that you're actually doing it because that's what we need more of, and I think that not everyone lives the same reality as everybody else. It's just it would be boring if we all lived the same reality. And some of us are really good business minds, and some of us are really good spiritual minds. Like it's just who we're all different,
Hmm.
and so some of us are going to have more experiences than others, and some of us are going to be so ego based that they do make up some stuff. But as you go along, if you start to come from the own truth of who you are, you'll start to see through the lies of anyone else anyway. You'll feel it. You'll just feel it. You'll get that feeling of don't know about that one.
Yeah,
And that
true.
listen to it. It's that gut instinct that you have. I know that my stories sound really crazy to people. I don't, if they want to believe them, they believe them. If they don't, they don't. It doesn't honestly worry me. Actually, the most important thing for me and my messages that I bring through is to find balance within oneself so that we can actually open up gifts within ourselves. Then it's going to free us from all of that tyranny that's happening outside of us, because they won't be able to touch us when we start to really awaken these gifts, which is, I think, why I came into, being with Purusha, the elder, and that sort of thing, and having those experiences.
Yeah. So another
Mm.
question I got to lead to then is, like, all right,
Mm.
so you got those people like yourself who are, having these abilities and such like that. But why does it always seem to be people who are not in society in the higher regards, like, look at your presidents or, your kings and queens and all sorts of stuff, like, well, they probably are, but they won't admit to the open. Like, but why isn't someone of a higher regard in society that have these abilities or aren't trying to, like, manipulate society to be able to go and achieve what you're doing and these other people are doing themselves? Like, why aren't they using that
Yeah,
to
it's
their
like
advantage?
the meek will take over. That isn't that a thing in the Bible? Not that I'm religious at all, but it's one of those things they did bring up with me. Every now and then they go to the Bible. I'm like, I'm not even religious, but anyway, because most of those that are in power, because of the way that humanity is so unbalanced, are actually the ones that are keeping us in a limited consciousness. So they're the ones that we are going to break. They're going to have to look at themselves as well. They're going to have to break down all of their own understandings of, because the more of us that wake up, it's kind of like if a narcissist doesn't have somebody to be a victim for them, they have to look at themselves because they don't have anyone else to control anymore. So it's going to be one of those things that we awaken, the people awaken, and then those that are in those higher places, and they do know, lots of them do know that are in the higher places, that there has been interaction with UFOs and so forth, and beings. They know, and they just are trying to keep it contained so that we don't find out that we're more than what we really are, that we have a greater expansive potential to be able to contact these beings through, methods of telepathy and so forth, and actually have physical contact with them. So I suppose some of us that are just awakening now to who we truly are, like myself, it's only been a year or so since I really stepped into my power. As we step into more and more of our power, we start to go, well, what do I really want to create here? And then we might create ourselves in a higher position where people start to, support us a lot more. Because we will dictate how our reality is going to go by the fact that we've cleared our mind and we start to move our actions through no fear anymore. And so we end up, going on stage and doing what we need to do to be seen and that sort of thing. So it's an awakening process. Everything seems to be a process.
Yeah, I know. It's just like some sort of initiation.
Yeah.
It's like just stop it. It's like just break through the whole lot and just bring reality to everything. Like that's what I sort of get frustrated. Like saying always people in power, like they got to be in power for that reasons for control and sort of crap like that. And that's where I get really frustrated because I'm not a religious person much either. And I sort of feel like when it comes to religion, they're the ones like that destroy this whole spiritual concept of humanity in itself, just because like purely for that control reason. So
it's
almost
like sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. Go.
It's almost like the logical brain has tried to figure out spirituality, and yet it doesn't have an idea, so it's just created this hierarchy position with lots of rules in a book. And that's what the logical mind does. It compartmentalizes everything, and it will only grab from the past, project into the future, gives you anxiety, depression, all that sort of thing. So it keeps us in this little hole where we don't understand the full spirituality of who we are as a soul. Spirituality is just, to me, it's just a natural God-given that everyone is that anyway. Like we are souls in a body going on a journey. And then when we leave this body, we choose to, go on another journey somewhere else and do that. Yeah. But if you're caught in like humans have been caught in that logical kind of frame of mind, they keep returning back to the same issues because they haven't cleared them. So they keep coming back to this similar life after life. And then they've started to scream out for help, which is why a lot of us like me have been born, because they were calling for help. And now we're here to say, hey, there is more to it. You don't have to keep on following that same story, that fear-based scenario and being a victim. You can actually step away from that and start to trust yourself to be able to create something new. Yeah,
it's like my kids are like they're starting to question reality there now. Religion, I should say, not reality. I think everyone questions reality sometimes. But but they're going like, well, I want to go and learn about religion. It's like, well, what do you want to learn about? Like, I can tell you a little bit about it, but what are you hoping to try and achieve out of this? And like, he's like, I don't know. I just want to like know what it's all about. It's like, well, it's this, but you don't, you don't have to go and follow religion just to be a good person or follow the rules or anything. As long as you're a good person yourself and to others, then you're fine. You don't have to go and follow guidelines of another book there could be very well just nonsense.
That could be their path to actually figure out what religions are like, so that they can actually get through the other side and figure out who they are. You can take snippets of bits and pieces of logical stuff and religions and shit and end up coming out the other end with something completely, it makes you who you are. Maybe they're driven to figure it out. I just let my kids go and do whatever they felt at the time, but you just kind of be the observer of it and just keep an eye on it as they go along. If it got too out of hand, then you can pull them back a bit. And mine are all growing up now though. Yay.
No, that's true. Yay, freedom.
just this year. Yay.
No more needing for getting rewired from old love from the USA there to go and deal with kids. But so that sort of brings me back to then, like, so we're talking about religion and they're a bit of a guide and this sort of stuff. But is there a way that we can sort of, I don't want to sort of turn into a cult or a religion or something like, but like, is there a way we can sort of make this a bit more of a more known to humanity on a spiritual journey kind of thing, then instead of trying to call it religion or a cult in that
Yeah,
regard? Like
which
how
is
can we go
just
about this to bring it open?
yeah, which everything that is pretty much poo-pooed, like made into, like you say, cults and all that sort of stuff. And really, that's a program poured over humanity's eyes to keep them in a limited space so they don't go
Mm,
into themselves and don't figure out who they are. But it's an actual individual inner journey. You can't get this from anyone else. No one else is going to support you in the end. You have to find your own inner support to really step into this power, to be able to figure out who you are from a soul's base. You can't read, somebody else really, they can tell you a few handy hints on how they did it, but it's going to be your journey in the end and how you do it. And we're all being pulled into it because the powers to be, like those Cyanians that I met, when I met them, they told me that the governments and all that were going to fall. I don't know if this will be taken down because they said that, but that's what they said.
fair enough.
Yeah. So and that there'll be certain people that will be appointed, that will be guides, like not leaders anymore, just somebody who knows a little bit more at that moment, that sort of thing. And but because in the end, they'll be teaching, those guides are sent to teach people to empower themselves, to no longer follow somebody else. And if we're all empowered stepping into this world and we no longer follow anyone else, we're free. We start to really do what we really wanted, what we really came here to do, and trust ourselves again and trust each other. So you
Yeah.
can't trust another person unless you trust yourself, because you wouldn't, if you trust yourself, you would see through somebody else and wouldn't let them into your life. So you have to trust yourself first.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Like, that's where I hope, like, people like yourself who can sort of help guide people along in their journey, or to get into their journey, basically. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. Like, how can we sort of open this up to everyone else without looking like crazy people or trying to turn into
Mhm.
a religion or god, cult in that nature? Like, where can we go with this? Like, I don't know.
Well,
Is it
doing
something that
what
just?
you're doing what you're doing, and I know that it seems like it's a slow crawl,
Yeah.
but, it's okay. It's got, like, all of these sort of things are going to start taking off more and more, because the majority of humans are going to look at what they're offering, and they're not offering a great deal. They're offering a lot of confusion.
Mm,
Those powers at the moment. So they're offering confusion and doubt and all of that stuff. And it's actually, that's what's going to awaken up the majority of humanity to go, well, I think I'm going to start looking outside the box. And who's outside the box? Your podcast is outside the box. I'm outside the box. Other people that are doing this sort of work. And so then we start to get more and more followers. And then we start to, become more, it just becomes more. And it's not going to be just one person anymore. It's going to be a lot. Like, it's not just Gandhi, doing his thing.
yeah.
It's going to be a lot of us that are awakening all at the same time. Great big groups, pods, they call them, of people that are actually, supporting each other. And that's how it's going to shift in the end, because then they'll try to tantalize you with a carrot over here that's controlling you. And we're going to go, we've seen that carrot before. We don't want that carrot anymore, because that carrot led us to more control, more laws, more restrictions,
Mm.
more problems. And so people are starting to awaken to this individually. And then when they awaken to it, they'll be going, well, if I don't want to follow that, what else do I want to go into? And they will start to step outside the norm, because that's the only thing they can do, really.
Yeah, I've sort of noticed that too, like, with the newer generations, like, like they say, like, they're bit more softer than the previous generations. And like obviously there were some things that were good, but there's a lot of things that are bad too.
Mm.
I sort of feel like with the newer generations, they're sort of growing away from the whole. I'm gonna go and bring it like racisms and the whole geez, what do you call it? Like the gays and the lesbians, and they're becoming a lot more
Yeah.
accepted these days and all sorts of stuff. The generation is changing where it's been a lot more accepting of different things and stuff like that. And I sort of feel like when you talk about, spirituals, guidance and stuff like that, and, aliens, UFOs, paranormals, whatever, it is becoming a lot more acceptable to a degree. We still have the older
Mm.
generation that's sort of holding it back a little bit there, but it still doesn't have that sort of acceptance yet, so that like you said, it is going to take time, and it's slowly getting there. And
Yeah.
I sort of feel like maybe the new generation will achieve that. It won't be us, but it'll be our kids, or it might be kids of kids and stuff like, in like a few more decades, maybe. Once
Yeah.
all the all the boomers,
Yeah. Well,
pass away or
there'll be
something.
a lot of confusion first. Um, the confusion that's happening out there is all supposed to help awaken as well. Like, there's always a good side and a bad side to every single story. It depends on how you perceive it and how you look at it. So when you come to those kids that are now, accepting of this and that a lot more, it can go the other way where it just becomes confusing as well. So
Mm. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
it just depends on the person, the personality, and all of that, and what lessons they're going through. But I think what we're really being taught to is to just do our own inner work and stop judging other people for what their work is. Let them be, let them do their thing.
Mm.
Literally heal yourself first. You can't point a finger to anyone until you can say, I can control my mind where I don't, like, if I have a negative story coming my way, I know that I can shift it by no longer focusing in on it. I've done it heaps of times. But if there's a real horror, like something that's really hard for me to shift, then yeah, it takes a while. But yeah, it just depends on what it is. We have all these different layers of self that we're moving through. And it's more to do with a personal journey these days. But if we're constantly judging everyone else for what they're doing, then you have to look at yourself, because you're pointing 4 fingers back at you, right?
Yeah.
Or
No,
3
which is fair
fingers
enough
back
too.
at you. 3.
Depending what
1
species you
finger
are,
over.
anyway.
Okay, I'm an OT, and I thought that I had 6 fingers. No, just joking.
That's fine. So, what are your thoughts on, like, obviously there's different species of people claiming different ETs and stuff like, so like, what are your thoughts on, like, what's the whole agenda behind all these different races and species of them trying to communicate with us, basically? What, like, I know there's like
Mm.
malevolent ones, there's ones that are like, good and guiding and stuff like that. Like, but what's the end game here of like your understanding? What's the whole idea behind these different races, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the end game is to learn to realize that we're actually creators of our own reality and create something new. And then we step into that. But the actual beings, like the malevolent beings, you will only have a malevolent being coming at you if you have a lack within yourself that you don't feel as empowered as they are. See, as soon as I put my hand out and go, join me, I'm not afraid of you, because I see my power as equal as yours. Now, I'm not coming from a lack, and they don't seem like they're all that threatening anymore. So your lack of your own power, they are showing you through this reflection how much you're lacking within yourself. So that's what malevolent beings do, really, is showing you your own lack, and that you are as powerful as what they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to interact in your reality. The benevolent ones that are coming are here to contact many different people that are ready, or souls that are ready to awaken to their true, authentic self, and then have that bridge coming in of communication, so that we can allow them to be a wise conjure or a wise counsel for many to be able to pull together in a group. Sorry, they're coming through and I'm like, I've got one thought and they're coming through with something else. So yeah, there's they're going to end up communicating with certain souls, and then the rising of our awareness in this human form will actually spark more consciousness to be awoken as well, because we are just, it's just our energy is in that reflection. So who do we bring in is more people who are aligned with us, and if they're not aligned with us, then our energy will slowly awaken them. But it can be a process of allowing that to happen. So a lot of us who are actually being communicated to by these benevolent beings are literally walking a path very alone, or maybe with one other person at the moment. But then slowly we will start to collectively come together as groups. And then that support's going to be even more. And then we are going to just do what we're supposed to do. So each of us will have a piece of the puzzle. Each of us have certain gifts that come along with that connection. And then we spark those gifts and start to show other people what humanity's true potential is, that it goes beyond what the other guys have been telling us, which have only been telling us that we're small so that they could control us.
Yeah, fair. So what are your thoughts when it comes down to abductions and stuff then? Because when I hear people they get abducted, some people have a pleasant experience, like very minimal though, but a lot of people have a very hard time accepting it because it's very fearful, very tragic in nature. They're always coming back with pain or, some sort of markings or something, like as if something's been stolen from them. And a lot of times it's, without any sort of consent or any knowledge or knowing that what is happening at that time. So what are your thoughts when it comes to a spiritual side of the aspect of things, like when you're saying with there's malevolent beings in there and there's others not, but where does it all come into play then with trying to find you in the journey if you're one of those people who are getting abducted as such?
Well, some people's soul contract is to actually be taken to be awoken, or taken to help a certain, say for instance, you as a soul came from the Lyran sector, and then you said to the Lyrans, hey, when I'm in a human form, I'll help you. You can take, I don't know, eggs or whatever, and then create a being for yourself over there, but don't tell me about it. I don't want to know about it, because in my human form, I'm going to be too afraid. So then when you have that experience, if you start to remember little bits of it, then obviously you're going to have that fear still attached to it. So there's sometimes that's happened. Some of them, there's so many different stories and so many different contracts between different souls. And some of them were actually fear-based, that the governments actually went in and pretended that they were these beings and so forth. So there's quite a lot of different stories depending on the situation. And for me, it was all to do with awakening me to my own true power so that I could help guide others. So it just depended on the individuals and their soul contracts and their stories of what they were actually going into. But yeah, if they were taken and they didn't want to actually wake up to the fact that those beings exist, then if they do have memory and do hypnotherapy or whatever and remember some of it, then of course it's going to be fear-based. But it's still a mirror of their own power that they've forgotten about, that they were actually friends with them before. And some of them, if they have done something wrong, like really wrong, some of them had contracts with the governments, and then they did this whole, we exchange wisdom with you guys if you let us have DNA from beings. And that happened, I think, through after the war, through for about 30, 40, 50 years, there was these people that were taken because they had the the okay from the leaders, from our leaders, because they didn't really respect humans. Didn't really
Yeah.
respect the people, honestly. So there's so many different stories, so many. Yeah, and that's just a few that I could
Yeah.
go into.
Plus, back in those days, they could get away with a lot more easier too. Like,
Yeah,
because obviously social media and technology wasn't that great back then, so people could go disappearing and you wouldn't even know.
yeah,
Um, but these days a little bit more difficult. Because like when someone gets a whiff of something, that gets straight on social media, and
mm,
it's hard to prove still. But that's when we start coming into like conspiracies and stuff like that. And something could blow open. I did
yeah.
have
But
another
we're
question.
seeing through the deceptions now.
Yeah,
Humans are starting to see through the lies. See, so then the stories come up. Yeah, and that is part of that whole journey.
yeah, absolutely. And like with conspiracies, like I said, I'm not a big follower on conspiracies, but the ones I do hear, like, or rumors are of conspiracies, there's always got to be some sort of bit of truth behind them.
Yeah,
I
most
feel
of my
anyway. Like it might
conspiracies have come true, so I don't have many left.
fair enough. Because like not all of it's going to be true, but there's going to be a little bit of that of truth there behind it. So, but because
Mm,
people are going to go and warp things to their own agenda. Look at religion for a great example. Um, it's just shit in society. Like like, you want the truth from everything that comes out, regardless.
yeah,
But yet some people want to go and like if they can't get the full detail of what is happening or such, they'll go and warp it to their own agenda to go and keep
mm.
followers following them, or
But
just
then
try and
if you can
monetize from
feel
it or some
into
shit
that,
like
right?
that.
Yeah, you could still feel into that though and go, "Oh, this person's gone too far," you know?
Mm,
And then you
yeah.
just stop watching them. Just don't give
No.
them the attention, right?
No,
Yeah.
that's it. But then you got like, yeah, I'll make a mention here. Then you got like Stephen Greer, for example. Like he was good in the past there, but these days I'm not really 100% sure on Stephen Greer. Like he's become very monetized off his commercialized off his stuff there. There are
Yeah,
rumors
I
of him
haven't followed
faking a lot
any.
of crap. Um, but he's an example of
And
whether he's bringing out bullshit or not. Like it's hard to sort of like get a grasp on like what are you're trying to achieve something here. Like okay,
mm,
you're bringing out some information here, but how much of that is actual truth to all this stuff?
mm. Yeah, I
And
don't haven't, followed like, I know of them from years and
yeah,
years ago, but I haven't followed anyone for a long time because I wanted my channeling to be clear from my guides. I didn't wanna be whatever it is straight from them, not from somebody else, which I remembered, that sort of thing. So I just
yeah.
but I do remember Stephen Greer come to Australia one time. I actually ended up in Uluru with David Icke.
Oh yeah.
That's another story.
Mm. Yeah, there you go. No, that's cool.
Crazy story. Yeah, I actually had a premonition dream first to say that I was going to go to Uluru. I had a pull to go somewhere. Didn't know where I was going to go. Started thinking, am I going to travel to America? Where am I going? Had this dream of being on a bus with a load of people going to Uluru. And then the next morning, because I had already signed up to go see David Icke, this is back in 2011, they sent an email through to everybody saying, "Does anyone want to go with David Icke to Uluru?" And I just had that dream, right, of being at Uluru in a bus. So I'm like, well, I'm supposed to go, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have that dream. My girls were usually taken by their dad, but he was sporadic, and I didn't even know if he'd be able to take them or. And lo and behold, he actually asked for those dates. So that
Mm.
was my kids were all sorted out. And I put my name in the hat, and my name was the first one pulled out of the hat because the lady who did it came up to me and said that I was first pulled out. So, and the weird thing was I got off the plane and everybody went to the bus, but for some weird reason, again, I didn't know that I was supposed to go to the bus, and I just started following David Icke, ended up in the car with David Icke. Oh my God, there's so much to that story. But yeah, I ended up in Uluru, and it was some weird stuff happened there as well. So The stories I've got pretty far out. I don't know how much time we got there. I could go on and on and on.
Oh, look! If you want to have a quick little spiel about it, I do have one question that I had before. We were going to finish up there, but now you mentioned David Icke and your little story there. Like, if you want to go on, give us a bit of a rundown if you're happy to.
Yeah. So I ended up in Pine Gap, just out at Alice Springs, just out of Pine Gap. That night, I just had this bad feeling. Something's not good around this place. And, we were close to Pine Gap. I actually saw, how I see things, right? So I actually woke up and saw these kind of cubes coming out of the wall, and there's souls trapped in these cubes. And I remember sitting up and going, I'll help you soon. I just can't yet. You just have to wait. Just be patient. But we are going to help you. It is going to come, you're going to get out. And then I ended up next to a guy called Max Ingham in the bus, who was taking a talking stick to a certain group of people that were doing a ceremony, who I ended up meeting one of those people. It's just crazy synchronicities, because I just moved to Mullaney the day before I went on the plane, and she was, anyway. So anyway, this group ended up doing the ceremony the day before that we were going to arrive, because they wanted to clear the song line or something. And when they did the ceremony, a big, huge lightning storm hit the mountain Uluru. So we saw the lightning storm happen. Then the very next day after that, we ended up in Uluru, and I knew I was meant to do something, but I didn't know what it was. And I'd had the bus driver come up and go to me, "Oh, you're not going to climb the mountain, are you?" He's part of the original people's tribes and stuff like that. So I said to him, "Look, I don't know what I'm doing." And he said, "I see in your eyes that you're telling the truth. And, if the mountain talks to you, the mountain talks to you." I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, honestly, but this is who I am. And I had this dream and blah, blah, blah. So I was already given a name by the Cherokee elder called Alanawa Nanahi. And Alanawa meant turtle. Nanahi meant the fairies, but she said I was creator of fairies. Turtle was where I carry the coda on the back of the turtle or Mother Earth to help people guide them through to the new earth. And so when I was in Uluru, I just said to the mountain, "Well, I'm here now. We've only got a few hours. If you want me to do something, it's fine. If you don't, whatever. I don't really care." And then I started walking the path. David Icke was already mentioning that there was portals around there or something. And yeah, so he was chatting to somebody else, and this guy that I thought was the one that was talking to me about the original people, because I swore I didn't want to do anything against the original people. I didn't want to overstep my boundary. It was one of my real heart-based things. So this person that was walking along the path turned around and said to me, "I saw a turtle in the mountain." I mean, we weren't supposed to go in the mountain, but as far as I was concerned, he was part of the original people, so I could follow him. So I followed this guy into the mountain, and he took me into, there's these two crevices, really tall cliffs or whatever. And he slid himself in, and so did I. And I had already had communication with the Pleiadians, where they put their forehead on my forehead, and they chanted Ra and all these harmonic chants, words, syllables. So I said to him, "I think we're supposed to chant." And I didn't know what I was meant to chant or anything, but I just put my forehead on the mountain, so did he, because he was trying to show me the turtle, which I didn't really see, but he saw it. Anyway, crazy stories. So I'm putting my hands on the rock, and the next minute is like this vroom, like a slow heartbeat, like a woo, woo through me, vibrating. My hands start shaking. I'm like, oh my God, what the heck is happening? And all these dreams I've had of this potential new earth started to flow through me into the rock. It's like I was giving information of this new potential of humanity that we could reach. And then after that, she was talking to me about helping awaken many more people, and that she would help me help awaken many more people. And now I actually channel Mother Earth as well on my YouTube. But any case, the guy next to me, I'm thinking after all this, and I can get myself in and out of this quite quickly. I'm like, my God, the bus driver, he's the bus driver. We're going to have to go soon, and the plane's going to leave, and we're here, and people are going to be late for the plane. So I looked over to him, and he's reaching through these rocks into like the space in between, and he's looked at me, and his pupil of his eyes were just so huge, like he was drugged out, and he hadn't taken anything. And he turned around to me and went, "Oh my God, none of it's real. None of it's real." He was having some sort of really spaced out thing that had happened to him. We get on to the
moment.
Yeah. So then we crawl back to the path underneath, all the rock and stuff, back to the path to go back to the bus. As soon as I hit that path where I met him, I realized it wasn't the bus driver. I wouldn't have followed this guy. He was just a random guy on the bus. He wasn't part of the original trial. Just crazy, right? And so, and the guy who was the bus driver back of the bus is yelling, "Yeah, they're going on the mountain," getting upset. And I'm like, "Oh, well, it's done now. Duh, that's happened." So
what a crazy adventure. Like, what are the odds of that? Like,
yeah, it's just so many crazy adventures, so many of them. Yeah, so I've forgotten what I was going to talk about, but that that actually came up. But anyways, what was your question?
No, that's fine. Look. So, like, my final question for the evening was like, if you're happy to discuss it, like, you mentioned that your daughters are having these experiences as well. Children and daughters. Have they sort of pursued the same sort of path as you, or like they sort of like trying to sort of stay away from it a bit? Like, how are they sort of
They've
coping with
gone
just having
through
this
their
sort of?
own. They like my youngest one. She was fully into it, and then she wasn't, and then she was, she was picked on. Excuse me, picked on at school and stuff. So she's like closed it all off. Doesn't even want me to tell anyone about her experiences. The middle child, she's now opening back up. So she's 20 and she's opening up to it all. My eldest daughter, who has seen a few things, very heart-based, is actually a scientist in Sweden.
Oh,
So
wow.
she went very logical. She's very logical based. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I just allow them to be them and go on their own journeys. But my youngest one's an amazing artist. Crazy, amazing artist. Yeah. I'm a really proficient artist as well. I'm an artist, singer-songwriter, poet. I was a lead singer in bands for years. So I'm not afraid of being in front of public. So I think that's why that all happened. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's great. That's awesome. But yeah, no, it's good that, like, the kids are coming back and opening back up to it. And I just got a question here. I've got this is from he's Funkin' Hungry. Thanks for joining the Funkin'. I'm gonna call you Hungry because it just sounds weird saying pumpkin. Anyway. Anyway, I've had a lot of experiences as a kid. How do I open back up to it all? So that'll be a question for you there, Bobbie.
What was it? I had experiences as a kid, but
how do I open it all back up?
How do I open back up to it all? You know what? Don't try. Like, your soul will take you there when it's meant to anyway. And the more that we kind of push these things to happen again, the more we're probably resisting the actual movement of what's going to take place naturally. So if you just say to yourself, I know that you could start off, like they're telling me now, sorry, I'm going to channel a bit here, that sure. You could start off with writing down your dreams and stuff like that again, just to get you into those alpha theta states of frequencies. And that, like, when you start to write them down, then you'll start to remember them more. Then when you remember them more, you'll start to open up that sort of contents. But it's because when you were a kid, you were really more balanced, and now you're more logical based. And so the logic will always close off your abilities that you have, because it doesn't understand them. So you're going to have to be prepared to move into something that feels unknown, an unknown quantity. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I've got.
That's fair enough. Do you sort of feel like meditation helps at all, like in that sort of regard?
Yeah, like I don't meditate myself, honestly. I can, and I have done, but generally my whole life is a meditation. I'm constantly observing my thoughts. I'm constantly in this kind of meditative sort of bringing myself into the moment, seeing that I'm more in my headspace, constantly readjusting myself. So your life ends up becoming a meditation, like you're doing the dishes and you're really, really with the bubbles, and you're really with the dishes, and you're not thinking of anything else, and you're really presently in the moment. Like, practice that. If you practice that, you're more likely to have your gifts start to awaken within you, because you're aligning with that potential of who you are properly.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough too. Look, yeah, well, we're truly
Mhm.
well and up nearly 2 hours almost, but
Wow.
yeah, I told you. I said, look, we usually try to stick to about an hour, hour and a half, but usually we punch through because
Sorry, too
it's
many
going.
stories.
It is. Look, no, it's wonderful. Look, now you've got yourself a YouTube channel and you've got you're reaching out for people to come and talk to you and stuff like that. So, like, how can people watch you and get in contact with you?
Yeah. So my YouTube channel is Bobbie the Messenger, Bobbie the Messenger. And so, yeah, subscribe away or whatever you want to do there. I'm live Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've started doing a bit of tarot on Thursdays just for fun. But I'm asking only the big questions. And on Tuesdays, just straight channeling. And then I have videos also in between that I put together as well for my channel. I have a website called codestoanewreality.com, and that has a lot of stuff in it. And it has a heck of a lot of channel messages. If you join as a member, you can go into those. I've just made them free for everyone. Yeah, and I'm also an intuitive counselor and a reader, so I can click into your soul and help you, guide you, and that sort of stuff. So my links are usually below my videos and that, which is also on my website, codestoanewreality.com. Yeah.
No, that's also that's wonderful. Yep. So
And a Facebook, obviously, which are a whole
yeah,
heap of 6,000 followers or something, a crazy amount.
doing well, doing well.
Whatever. Yeah. No, I didn't even know how that happened. Honestly, it's just like one day I looked there and went, oh, really? Okay.
Like, just no, that's awesome. That's wonderful. Look, like we were talking about, like, if people obviously want to try and look into this stuff, and they've obviously found you and come across what you do and stuff, which is absolutely wonderful. And if you can help guide people into some sort of spiritual awakening in some sense, then by all
Yeah.
means, I hope hopefully it happens for them.
At least
But
in
yeah, look,
creating what we want.
exactly. But look, yeah, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
wonderful having you on, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, look, we'll hopefully see where this all goes, eh?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. All right, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Catch ya. Oh, there you go, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. It was absolutely wonderful. Having Bobbie there with us tonight is absolute pleasure. And thanks to everyone joining in the comments here in the chat here tonight. It's absolutely great seeing you all in here again. I hope you enjoyed the show. It is, yeah, I can't appreciate you more having enough coming here and joining me on this show. It's what I love seeing you is in here and having a chat in the comments there and asking questions and just enjoying the show, hopefully. So yeah, that's good, guys. Don't forget, if you have had an experience or encounter or know someone who has, don't forget to go and get in touch with me either through the Facebook Messenger or the email at Australian UFO sightings at outlook.com.au. Also, don't forget, we do have the new online store there. Like I said, it's a little bit pricier still, but just because the designs that I want, the the stuff that I need, and unfortunately, I can't get it cheaper. Unfortunately, I've still got the Redbubble one there, which do have cheaper shirts, but they don't have double size. Like, I don't know if you can see this. Like, got that shot there, and I got logo on the back there. It looks bloody awesome. It looks cool. But unfortunately, Redbubble doesn't do those designs, so I've had to go the other ones that will. But anyway, look, there's heaps of cool stuff on there, guys. I did put the the shop online store in the comments. I'll throw it up again for you. Just go and check it out if you like. Not telling you to go and purchase anything. It's just totally up to you guys there, but just helps support the show and rocking the old logo and showing everyone that you support the show. Basically, it's so. But yeah. Anyway, I'm babbling again. So anyway, look, guys, thanks again for joining me tonight. Absolutely wonderful having you here, and I'll see you on the next Encounters Down Under live. All right, all of us guys, and till next time, catch you later.